Today we are going to learn what is called CSS multiple column. CSS multiple column. When I'm talking about CSS multiple column, it means how we can divide our column into multiple parts. Let's try to create our project. Let's go to a new file, open new folder. Let's name it multiple. In case you are using XAMPP, now we have a multiple project being created. Let's create our HTML file by clicking on the new file and name it css mult.html. Here we have our CSS module created. Let's create our boilerplate. I made it with multiple column. Now to create a multiple column, what do I mean by CSS multiple column? CSS multiple column is a way of dividing our column into multiple parts. So that, just for instance, like a newspaper, like a magazine, you see how they create a multiple column articles, whereby our only element can also be spanned into multiple column. Let's create our div element, our lorem. Let's try to make it more by copy and pasting. Now we have already pasted our lorem. Now let's now go and let me try to close the other tabs. Let's now try and locate by say multiple our CSS project, CSS mult. Let's try to get the name CSS mult. Multiple. Our name of our project is multiple. It's multiple. We have multiple. This is our project name. Our project name is multiple. Our project file is css mult.html. If you look at this way, our project is multiple. Then you access the multiple, which is localhost/multiple. Then the file, which is css mult.html. That is what we are accessing here. Multiple, which is the name of the project, and css mult, which is the name of our file. Now, as you can see, this is our div, whereby our div has been spanned with our lorem. Now we want to divide this particular into multiple column. There are some CSS properties that allow us to do that. Number one, let's give this class the class name. Let's make it let's call it multiple, or let's call it newspaper. Let's call it newspaper. Let's go to our head section. Let's create our style, our inline style. Let's create our inline style. And let's say we have our newspaper, which is the name of our class here. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is column count. A column count is a property that allows us to define how many columns our element should ask. Maybe you need a 2 column, you need 2 column, then you have to use what is called a column count. A column count will tell you how many columns do you need. Just for instance, you need 3 columns. You create 3 column 3. Yeah, our newspaper here, which is the property, which is our class here, also will span to 3 columns. Let's see it here now. Let's see. Then you can see that we have already divided this into 3 columns. Let's try to change it and also make it a 4 or 2 columns. Let's make it a 4 columns. Here also, by the time you refresh it, you have a 4 columns. Here now, what we mean is that a column count is the one that allows our element to be divided into multiple columns. Column count allows, the more the column, the more the division of our element. If you now bring it back to 2, also if you change it to 2 columns, our value will also change to 2 columns. But let's change this to a 4 column, so that we can have a 4 column in our properties. The next thing is column gap. Column gap. What's column gap? A column gap is the distance, the gap between 2 columns. A gap between 2 columns is our column gap. When I'm talking about column gap, it means a gap between 2 columns. A gap between 2 columns, that is what we call column gap. Now, let's make a gap. Let's say a column gap to be 10%, or let's say to be 30%. It means the distance from column 1 to column 2, column 2 to column 3, column 3 to column 4 should be 30%. Can you see now we have a 30% column. If you also increase it to 40, then you have a wider gap. You have a wide gap among the space between the column 1 and column 2, column 3 and column 4, and the likes. That is what we call column gap. A column gap allows us to give a space between our column. That is why we say the column gap, we reduce our column gap. Let's just make our column gap to be 50, to be 35, so as to make it, to reduce the gap between them. Now we have a column gap, the gap between this. Let's now go to what is called column rule style. How do we want to style? Column rule style is the one that defines the styling of our gap, the styling of our column rules, the styling of our column rules. If you look at this, spaces, you know that the spaces here has no rules. We want to define the rules, how the rules should also span. How the rules will also span, that is what we call column rules. Now, let's say columns, rules, style. Which style do you want? A solid column style allows us to define, like we always have it in our border, a dash, a drop, a solid. If you have a solid, then it means a solid style will appear on each column as a divider. Can you see now you see a black thick parallel line that is here. Also, you can change it from solid to dashes. We have a multiple properties there. You have a dashes like this. Anyone that you define that you can use. But what we are saying here is that a column rule allows us to give a rules to our Css column gap. We have a dotted, we have the group, we have double, but let's just make to our own to be solid. And when we have a solid, it means you have a solid rule between the column of our element. That is what we call a column rule style. Let's now try to make a rule width. A column rule width. What is column rule width? A column rule width is to define how our width, how the column rule should appear. Is it very tiny, very big, or very small? when we have like 1 pixel, it means our column row width will be spanned to be tiny. Like the one we have before is very thicker than this. Now we have a tiny separator, which means our width is 1 pixel. The width shows how you want the column gap to look like. If you change it to 3 pixel, then the ruler also will become thicker. Then let now be consistent by using 1 pixel. Now column row width will define the width of our column gap, between the columns. Now let's now try to use a column, another property, which is column rule color. Column rule color is the one that helps us to change the color and the appearance of our column gap, our column type. Now let's make it a red. It means the column gap here will change to red color. As you can see now, we are having a red, meaning that you are having a red color width. This is how we can use a multiple column property in our CSS. Now, in order to avoid repetition of all these columns, you can also use what is called a column rule, ordinary column rule for a shorthand. You can also use this column rule for a shorthand, as a shorthand. Now, just for instance, we want to use our column rule. Instead of using a column rule style, column rule width, column rule color, you can also use a column rule by specifying it as 1 pixel solid red in one line. Without using this one now, let's try to comment out these 3 lines. Then having only this one will give us the same output. Can you see now? This one will give us the same output. By refreshing it, if we change this one to 2 pixel now as a single line, then also this one will become more thicker than the one we did before. Now let's change this one to 1. That is how you can use a single column divide. Let's try to comment in this one. This one is just a way of writing a single line of our rule style. This one specifies the rule, the first argument here specify the rule width, the second one specify the rule style, and the third one specify the rule color. Then instead of writing column rule style, column rule width, column rule color, you can also use ordinary column rule to specify the 3 properties of our column rule style. Another properties of using this one is column span. Let's take, for instance, let's have an header of header 3 here, header 2 here. Alright, and we make it half equal. I just write article of, let's call it news of the day. Now, if you want a column span, you can just say dot newspaper, our H2, then you have a column span to specify like 4. Then it means it will span, the column will span to this. But if you want to span this one to every column, then by specifying column 4, column 1 like this, it means it only span to this. But when you make it, if you want to span to all, then you write all. Then it means this header will be given to all. Instead of appearing only in first column, it will appear to all columns. then span to all. That is why this one will give a gap instead of this one. But when you write it as 1, it only give this one, it will only stay in first column. But when you give it all, then this one can give as all column. You can also make it text alignment so that it appear at the center to see this. Now, the last thing is a column width. If you want to specify a column, the width of our column, the total width, say column width, you can just make it 600 pixel. Then our column width is 600 pixel. 600 pixel. By having 600 pixel, it means this one will have a longer width. You can make it like 100 pixel so that each of them you have 100 pixel. That is our column width. The column width is the width of our column, for each column. But we make it 100 so that each one will have 100 pixel. 100 pixel. When you make it a 50, that's up here. That is why we need that this one can make it 100 pixel for column width. Column width. Now we have a property, what is called, this is the end of what is called a CSS multi-column properties. Don't forget, a column count tell us how many column do you need in our element. We want to span our element. That column gap also tells the gap between the distance between the columns, either the column 1 to column 2 or column 2 to column 4, depending on how many column counts you have. Then the column rule style give all the style we want for our column rule. You can have a column style to be solid, to be dashed, to be double, or to be hidden. You can also have a column rule width, the width of our column gap, of our column style rather. Then also we have the rule color. Which type of appearance do you want for your column style? Do you have a red color or any color? Also you can have a very gradient color to make it more beautiful. And lastly, column width give us the width of each column. By using a column span, it means we want an element to span through all the column. If you want it to span through all the column, you use the column span hub. If you want it to span only one column, you use a number like column 2 or column 3 and the likes. That is the end of this. I think in our next video we shall move to an advanced course in CSS. Thank you very much. God bless.